Hello and welcome along to WD18, the Watford fan channel, for a bit of a, well, there's lots going on in this video. First off, we're going to look back on what was a dreadful night at Vicarage Road against Preston. It did finish Watford 0, Preston 2. Oh, Watford 1, Preston 2, but the game was a tough watch, to say the least. And then we're going to pick one January signing for Watford from every Premier League team. And before you come and kill us, it's not going to happen. Why are you even bothering? Look, a little bit more of a positive spin on this. And maybe, just maybe, Gino, Scott, Gianluca Nani, someone's watching, that they can maybe take a couple of the ideas and make a late move in the transfer window. Thanks so much to everyone who's watching on today's show. It's great to be back with Sam Yuko. Sam, where are you ranking yesterday in terms of worst games you've seen as a Watford fan?
As a Watford fan, wow, that is a big question. I think that would be a whole video in itself. But performance-wise, for me, I would actually say that was the worst this season, which is sort of weird because I said last week against Cardiff was the worst, and in the space of a week we seemed to trump that. We'll go into it a bit more, but I think almost objectively over in 90 minutes, if you look at the numbers, if you look at the body language, if you look at everything, I thought that was actually worse than Luton. Because obviously Luton, a lot of people will feel that was worse, but I think a lot of that is almost as well down to the emotional element to it, being a derby, tying up at Kenilworth Road, being absolutely terrible. I'm not excusing it, of course. I just thought yesterday was even worse. And just have a look at this comment from Ian, by the way. Having a look at one signing from every National League club. Shout out to Wayne Andrews, who actually made an appearance yesterday for Wealdstone. Love it.
At 47 years of age, what a man, Wayne, and I'm sure he's watching. Charlie, look, I listened to your guys' pod at the weekend. That shout out to Rookery Mike Parky for coming on the show. It was a great episode, and one where I really felt how good that away day was. I was so jealous. I was in Copenhagen over the weekend, had a day in Malmo, and I was listening to it going, oh, I wish I was there in that away end at Pride Park. It felt like a real championship away day following Watford Football Club. And then it's back down to reality yesterday. I know you weren't there yesterday, Charlie, but was it as tough watching it from afar as I imagine it was for us watching at the ground?
Yeah, absolutely. Football can really humble you, can't it? The energy and the mood on Sunday or Saturday compared to tonight's show just shows where we are. And I do think that's important to kind of realise because, do you know what I mean? Football goes up and down, and who knows, we could, I doubt it, but we could get a positive result against Coventry and we might be up again. So I don't think we should get too down about it. Look at the league table. We're not in a relegation scrap. So, yeah, when we're looking at it, was it the worst this season? Statistically, I've just looked at kind of the XG difference. We had an XG of 0.4. Preston had an XG of 2.4, which is the biggest difference. The Swansea game, we had 0.4. Bristol City, where we won, we also had 0.4. So, yes, to answer your question, it was as bad watching from afar, especially with some badly researched commentators who said Barr was starting at right wing back. Yeah, but I feel for you guys in the cold watching that in the flesh.
Tough watch. Despite that, as Charlie mentioned, in terms of the league table, it does mean Watford dropped down to 8th, just 1 point behind Blackburn in 6th. But it felt, actually, you know what, before we do that, shout out to Hertfordshire Minds. First off, as always, this video is brought to you in partnership with Hertfordshire Minds. 7 goals so far in January. Obviously, a worldie or a beautiful strike from Rocco Battle. We're getting used to that now with him. It's not really becoming a surprise. So 7 goals, £7 into the pot so far in January. If you want to join us on that, the link is in the description below. If you're listening to this on audio, really appreciate it. And if you could drop us a review, goes a long way as well. We've had a lot of messages about that. And then just a heads up to bring it back round to Hertfordshire Mind on the 27th of January, which is next Monday. Join the guys for a night of delicious food, community connection, supporting mental health, which is the most important thing. £25 per ticket. As always, the information is in the description below to join the guys at the Indian Sizzler in North Watford. Okay, Sam, something that wasn't sizzling was that Watford performance, which is my segue this week. Let's get it on screen. Let's get the team up. Sam, before I segued back over, I mentioned the sort of league table position and Watford at this moment in time. Weirdly, though, that felt more than just a defeat yesterday. Or am I over-exaggerating there?
No, I think it was the perfect storm. Obviously, 3 substitutions made during the game yesterday, down to 3 injuries. two of them are arguably two of our most important players. Well, I wouldn't even say arguably. I'd say they are two of our most important players in Kwadwo Bar and Imran Louza. A shame to see Festi Episeli go off injured as well. I didn't actually realise almost when it first happened, watching it in the ground, at least in real time, it looked like the guy had won the ball. I didn't see him catch Festi, but he did look like he was in a lot of pain. So hopefully it is nothing too serious with that. But performance-wise, body language-wise, the atmosphere was flat yesterday at Vicarage Road. It was the emptiest I'd say it's actually been this season as well, which surprised me, considering how good it was against Coventry. I know people against Derby. I know there's a lot going on at the moment. It's a midweek game. It's a tough one. But I just think yesterday almost nothing went well. And there was that feeling in the air, I feel like, straight, like even before kickoff, that it just wasn't going to be it. And I think it transpired like that.
And Preston are one of those teams, Charlie, where they get the first goal and they make it really, really difficult. I think for me, though, Charlie, the manner and the nature of the goals we conceded yesterday was particularly frustrating. Were you more frustrated about the first one or the second one? Because both of them were soft.
I was more frustrated on 15 minutes when Kwadwo Bar pulls up, and I think that was that's absolutely massive. And I think it is, we've mentioned it a few times about his injury record, and I don't know if like an athlete like him is interesting with like other players like Adama Traore. Doesn't seem to have a bad injury record, but when there's such explosive athletes, to be up and down, those movements, which are such a strain on the body and the muscles, it's been great to see him play this season. I think that's a huge blow. And I think that took the wind out of our players. I think we lost a bit of belief, and I bet their left back was absolutely buzzing. He must have probably had a prayer the night before, and I think their old team had a lift. As for their goals, your man who was probably chomping at the bit to play us again. I can't even remember the first goal. But
so just to run through the first goal, a Banquer who's come into the team, played in midfield right against Derby. He then got moved to, or did he start a centre-back at the weekend?
Yeah, right back. Yeah, it's a tough one on a Banquer, because at the start of the game, I thought he was really good. He looks like really composed, like confident in bringing the ball out, beating players. And I just think he made that one little mistake, which they kind of capitalised on. I don't know if it was Polakos or Alta, could they have kind of made sure as Mojic, whatever his name is, didn't get there? I'm not too sure, but I felt like a Banquer's head kind of, he seemed a bit deflated and his head went after that. And as for the second goal, Jonathan Bond should have got there, but I think he's injured. He's struggling. I don't know if he was kicking yesterday. You can see how engaged I was with the game, but I think a goalkeeper should be, do you know what I mean, waiting to collect that ball where it was. And when he ran through, I was just like, where's Bond? There was a behind the shot angle of Louza asking the same question, but I think he's obviously got an injury where he can't get out. And that just, I'm going to show a bit later, like the state of our squad now. But yeah, I don't think Bond was fit. Am I being harsh there, or what do you guys think for the second one?
I mean, I think Cleverley's reaction said it all. If anyone was at Vicarage Road yesterday, I looked at Cleverley and the ball got played in behind. Osmaic starts in his own half, pretty deep in his own half, outpaces Sierralta, if I remember correctly. The ball goes over the top, and I look at Cleverley and he has gone ballistic. He's turned around, thrown his arms about, and that was before Osmaic had even got to the ball, because I think he'd realised this is a soft goal to concede. And look, when you bring a striker who's already scored one in that game, confidence is high, he's one-on with the keeper, he blasts it past Bond at that point. It's too little too late. But look, I think Jonathan Bond the next day is looking at that and reviewing it, going, I have to come out. And maybe, you know, for all of Brett Backman's criticism, one thing you probably could say about him is the fact that he probably would have been there. But I don't want to use it as a sort of Batman over Bond situation. The fact of the matter is Bond should have been out. But Sam, I think just to bring it back about sort of the feeling yesterday at the ground, because I think we can all agree that was a really, really bad Watford performance. I'm going to get onto Cleverley's comments in just a bit, but I wanted to throw this comment over to you from Mark Schofield. I have never felt so down after yesterday. The fact we played so poorly after such a great win at Derby, the fact we have lost Barr, as Charlie mentioned, Louza who went off, Ebasele's injury looks serious, and injuries with no sign of players coming in. That is a major concern, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it's, like I said earlier, it's just the perfect storm, isn't it? And I think what what's been going on this season, and saying papering over cracks makes it sound really, really harsh, because I think Watford are having a really good season, particularly after I tipped us to get relegated. A lot of people tipped Watford to get relegated, and we're massively overperforming, and credit has to go to not just Tom Cleverley, but the entire squad for that, because they've been excellent this season in the majority of games. At the same time, there has been this underbelly of discontent towards the board and towards Gino Pozzo, which, you know, I'm done with the Pozzos. I've made that clear before, and nothing will really change until Gino sells the club. But because of that, because of the culture that they've created, now whenever we're in a bad run of form, the mood will just completely switch, because we know the inevitable is going to happen. Tom Cleverley is under pressure. There's no point in denying that, and he should never be under any pressure with the season that we're having and the squad that we've got as well. So what I think yesterday ultimately symbolised with the injuries that came in and the lack of signings that have come in so far this window, I think, and as well as that, the pressure that's on Tom Cleverley and the chants about Gino and the chants about Tom Cleverley, the Tom Cleverley banner, all of that, I think, has ultimately just created, first of all, it's a result of the culture. And secondly, it's just creating a bit of an unpleasant mood at the moment. Derby was the exception, obviously, but there's a bit of a long-winded answer. But I just think the bad mood coming from yesterday, while it was almost a small example of it, it's a consequence of the culture again.
Well, it's 1 win in 6, Charlie, away at Derby, the one you guys were at. Obviously, we drew against Cardiff away, thanks to a great bit of play by Barr. And I have to say, the difference when he was off the pitch was pretty noticeable. I think there's a conversation to be had about the difference in this Watford team without him there, because ultimately teams know they can play a higher line, they can push us back a little bit more. As soon as Barr's on the pitch, as you say, the wing backs and the fullbacks know they're going to be in for a tough game. But I look at Cardiff, I look at QPR away, I look at Cardiff away, where we were really poor, and then Preston yesterday, we were really poor, Charlie. It's one win in 6, as I said. It just always feels like we're one result away and one bad performance away from the mood changing. And I don't think that's the case every single club. And I take QPR as a really good example for this, right, this season. They were under a terrible bit of form under Martí Cifuentes at the start of the season. But their owners gave them time. The fans were completely behind the manager. And I think the Watford fans are completely behind Tom Cleverley. But at the minute, Watford fans are fearing the worst with Clevs. Clevs is trying to do the best he can with what he's got. We know that the boards have operated in this way before. They might get rid of him. So it just feels at the minute where, again, it almost feels like Groundhog Day a little bit, where it just feels a bit disconnected at the moment. And Tom Cleverley is the connection between us, the fans, and the players. Is that fair? Does it always feel like it's one result away from it having a day like yesterday?
Is it disconnect, or is it just fear? Because I feel like this is the most unified we've been as a fan base for years, and that's solely down to Tom Cleverley. I think we're just in fearful that when we do get a bad result, he'll do something stupid. But I actually feel like we're all unified as a fan base. And I think the reality is, if you just look at our squad, I'll get it up in a bit, but we just haven't got that many good players. And again, like I'm saying, I felt like I've said recently, look, when we got Barr, Vata, Georgie, Pollock, we've got like a good, exciting young spine. But like after that, I just like Tom's said it 100 times, and we're going to go into it and hopefully have a bit more hope when we talk about the potential signings. But it's just we need more Jake Livermore's. We need more people who are gonna dig in. And I just think with the players that we've got, we can't expect it. And what's realistic, that we're not going to win every championship game, especially if our star men get injured. So I just think as fans, we need to be quite calm. We are going to lose games between now and the end of the season, especially with transfers. We all are on the same page, I think, when it comes to who's to blame. So I think let's stick unified, stick together, support the boys whenever we're playing them, and let's go from there.
But no, I mean, Charlie, just picking up on that, sorry. I mean, I agree with you in terms of staying unified behind the team and Tom Cleverley, because, let's say, obviously, regardless of a few results, I think we have overachieved this season, and it is a really good season. The issue isn't the disconnect and almost the borderline where it feels like it can get toxic at any moment. I genuinely believe if we lose at Coventry at the weekend, that will be it for Cleverley. I think it would have been if we lost to Derby. I think that Derby result saved him. I think that will be it for Clevs, and I think that's
Calm
why.
down, Samuel. Calm down.
That's why the feeling is there though as well, and the chant of I don't care about Gino and whatnot. I think in a way, I mean, I'm not that there should be an opinion on a chant. I think it's the chant's fine. Obviously, I've sung it at both Derby and I sang it yesterday as well. I think what it's doing though is it's driving a further wedge between Pozzo, Cleverley. Almost you got Pozzo on one side, Cleverley, the fans and the players on the other side. Pozzo because he owns his football club and he's going to know this because he's got an ego. He's always going to win. And I think if anything, that wedge is driving him even closer to trying to sack Tom Cleverley. And look, I hope it doesn't happen, but I just fear, and the reason why I'm frustrated is because now if we lose on Saturday, I just fear for the worst.
Which is crazy to think. I think if you'd said Saturday that we'd be talking about like this on Tuesday. Yeah, it's pretty incredible, really. I think just a couple of comments. There was a genuine question for you from GT Official. When was the last time we all feared a manager getting sacked and he lasts the rest of the season? As sad as it is, and as much as I'm against it, the writing's on the wall. NRT Sports UK, I've been going to Watford games for over 25 years. The game last night was one of the worst I've been to. I want Tom to succeed like 99% of Watford fans, but I cannot see Gino Pozzo backing him.
I also think there is an element here. Sorry, Jacob, to jump in again. But I do sort of just feel like there is an element that, yes, we have overachieved and no one's taken that away from Tom. I don't think even the boardroom would take that away from him. I think because the form is potentially only going one way, particularly now with the injuries, and we might not have as good of a second half of the season as the first half. I think Pozzo's going to be thinking that because we are still within a chance of getting into the playoffs, because we are in that conversation, I think he's going to hope to roll the dice and just hopefully get another run of form. Like I say, it's crazy that we're talking about this and it's a result of the culture, but nothing will change until Pozzo's gone ultimately.
A tough February coming up as well. I just wanted to bring it back to yesterday. I know you're probably thinking, oh, why are you talking more about Preston? Charlie, I mean, look, first off, Paul, I looked at the 65 minutes. You mentioned the XG. It was at 0.05 at 65 minutes. And look, Preston are not prolific goal scorers in this division under Heckingbottom. The game plan was pretty simple. Get that goalie goal, sit tight. And look, we had a late flurry of pressure towards the end. I'll get the momentum bar up. It'd be rude not to. You can pretty much see it here. First half, Watford just didn't turn up. Met with boos at half time. Second half, Preston got that second goal. And then obviously Watford had to commit more men forward. Preston dropped off and we got that Rocco Vata beauty at the end. And he was a shining light, really, in what a Watford performance that lacked quite a bit. Look, I'm completely behind Clevs. Absolutely. I felt some of his selections yesterday was a little bit off. I don't think it's helped by the fact he keeps changing the system. I've mentioned this before about someone like Pollock, particularly. I thought it was one of his poorer games, Matty. But, he's going from a back three to left of a centre-back. And then you throw Jeremy Ngaki, who's not a natural left-back a right back at left back. We know he can play there. I think the midfield dynamic was well off between Kiembe, Loser and Sissoko. I mean, that's a conversation we keep having, but I thought Sissoko and Kiembe were not great. Bio just didn't have a touch of the ball. He then brought Ebisele on for Bar.
Jacob, sorry, just on that, you're saying about Clevs' selections. What options does he have? He can't play Tom Delhi because of risk of him being further injured. We've all had our complaints about Larousse. I thought Ngaki didn't play well yesterday on the left side, but is there more he could do? Maybe playing Ogbonna instead of Sierralta. What other, to be honest, Dumbia, I thought Dumbia was better than Bio yesterday, but it's just with the squad that we've had, he's doing. I can't see many changes that make sense that he's not doing. If that makes sense, his hands are kind of tied. I don't know if you two agree, but I just think with the options that he's got and trying to be sensible, he's not going to throw in 5 kids.
I totally get that. Let's look at half time, right? I mean, he brings on Larousse. The game was crying out for Tom Dele-Bashiru. I know he's coming back to fitness, but if he's on the bench, for me, he plays 45. And then we obviously don't know the full situation. Chatfadazzi, basically what I'm trying to say is we should have brought them on earlier. And if it wasn't for Ebisele getting injured, Chatfadazzi would have been brought on potentially even later. I felt that change needs to be made at half time. But look, this goes beyond Tom Cleverley, I think, when we talk about and look, Clevs is going to make slight mistakes. He's not that experience. He's doing an unbelievable job. I put a tweet out earlier. I think pound for pound, Sam, he's doing the best job in the Championship. And Charlie probably cues us putting the graphic up in terms of...
Speaking of pounds or lack of.
Yeah, yeah. Would you have gone unchanged, by the way, Sam, from Derby?
It's difficult because I would have wanted, again, Tom Delly, because we discussed this on the stream, actually, the other day. I was surprised that we started with Tom Delly and took him off at half time rather than the other way around, because often what you see with injured players is they'll play the second half or come on for the last half an hour or so. I was surprised at the time, but it actually really worked. And if Tom Delly was fit enough, I would have done the same thing again and almost tried to play him for the first half or the first hour and then brought on Sissoko or Kayembe. I imagine the only reason would have been that Tom Delly wasn't fit enough. And as frustrating as it was to see Sissoko and Kayembe start again together, I don't think there was much other choice.
Go on, Charlie. Just explain the graphic we've got on screen at the moment.
Yeah, and we tweeted out today, but after some business, I think it was Portsmouth, have done. We're now the club who've spent the least amount of money throughout this season on transfer fees. So you can see at the bottom there, 3.28 million euros. That's despite recouping or bringing in 30 million euros. So again, that just highlights the bigger picture of what Tom's facing and the state of the squad and what we've had to deal with. And I just want to quickly show the team that was left after Bar went off, the team that maybe played the majority of the game. You can also see kind of the subs, injured players up here. And I don't even know what you'd call this list, but players who are gone, will be going, departure lounge. But just on this, I wanted to ask you two, name the players here on this table that you're happy to be in the starting 11. Let me get it back up. Sorry.
try to recite the lineup.
In terms of like long term, who I almost keep to build the team around. 1, 2. I'll say the names after, but there's 3 players there who I'd be happy with.
Pollock, Luzavata.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone else, fine.
Too early to make judgment on a Banquer.
Yeah.
I think, look, I actually, because he played right of a back 3, didn't he, a Banquer at Derby? And
he played a back 4.
And
played right back. Yeah.
Well, look, I think it's early days with him. He hasn't played a lot of football. We played at Charlton on loan last season. Clearly, he's an athlete. You can tell. I think it was probably just one of those bit of a baptism of fire coming in, and he tried to play for a foul. He didn't get it. One of those. I thought he did all right. I liked. He was positive and aggressive in his passing. Better out than the back 4, in my opinion, anyway. But if you look at that lineup, which is Bonda, Banquer, Sierralta, Pollock, Ngakia, Luza, Kiembe, Ebisele, Sissoko, Vata, with Bio up front. Pollock, Luza, and Vata would be my 3, Charlie.
And then my other question is, what players would we be happy in a starting 11 next season? And we'd probably go Tom Delly, Andrews, I'd say. Chatford, whether he's going to be here or not. Bar.
Ogbonna, I think Ogbonna, if he's still got the legs.
I don't know why Ogbonna's not been starting, really. I'd have him over Sierralta, and I'm hoping a Banquer can pick up from the way he left off against Derby. But the point I'm trying to make, if you're looking at this screen, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 about 28, 29 that we're happy with. It just shows how bad the squad building's been, and again highlights how much of a great job Tom's been doing, and that's why we need some new players. And I think we've talked a lot about kind of the Pozzo, the regime. We have in recent weeks talked about the positives, the young players that have come through, but for us to be a consistent team, you need about 7 or 8 at least players that you're banking on each week, and we've only got that maybe in the squad, let me know the starting 11. So I just wanted to highlight that.
No, totally. That was the sentiment shared by Tom Cleverley yesterday. He said there's absolutely no future being a team full of mavericks in this division. So we need more players who can play percentage football and do the basics well. We also mentioned the fact that he got promoted and 1 week, this Watford team can play an 8 out of 10. The next week, they can be a 4-3, even 2, he mentioned. Whereas the time they got promoted under Cisco Munoz, the worst performance he said they put in was a 6. And I think that's probably the difference between teams that are going to be pushing for promotion and the team that we have at the minute. One graphic I wanted to share, lads, which kind of segues us on. If there's anything else we want to touch on with Preston, Sam, because we've obviously got...
I mean, yeah, it was interesting, though, the comment on the Cisco season, because one thing I'd say is that while a lot of our games, particularly in the first half of the season under Vladimirovic, it was terrible to watch because it was so boring, we were incredibly hard to beat. And I think that a lot of that was just down to almost having that nous to get around games and get through games. Yes, it was the year off, we got relegated, there were no fans in the stadium and that sort of thing. But almost the difference in football IQ, I'll say, between that team then and the team now is huge, which is why I think, we're having the discussions that we are.
Yeah. One man, Will Hughes.
William Hughes. Oh, you're going to make me emotional. I just want to shout out our guys at the Voices of the Vic podcast, Ben, Mike and the team, Katie as well. They put this graphic together of our squad depth in each position with 12 days left of the transfer window. And let us know in the comment section, where do we need to strengthen first? The fact we're saying first with 12 days to go, so that's all you need to know. And will any of these players be leaving? Charlie, just looking at that on paper, thoughts?
Yeah, it's not looking great, is it? But I think this is down to kind of the summer. I know Sam tweeted about it, but if you look at the summer recruits, how badly it's been, it's not looking good. So I think maybe we could have a bit of fun in the last 10, 12 days, because I think there could be some random faces rocking up to London Colney, but in terms of succession planning and squad building, it's been pretty bad, if I'm honest.
One man who's just left the door as well, Sam, is Antonio Tikvic, who has been confirmed by Andrew French that we have actually signed him on a permanent basis, which wasn't officially confirmed. But according to Andrew, he had no idea Tikvic had signed permanently for Watford. It was only after I wrote the story about him leaving I realised that. Have asked the club when, how long, fee, and also why no official announcement. We'll update with any info I get. He's now going to spend the rest of the season on loan in Austria. Sam, I mean, it comes as no great surprise, really, the fact that he's come in and hasn't played any football since his loan from Udinese. He's joined Grazer AK in the Austrian Bundesliga. But does it, just to bring it back to what Charlie was saying about the summer window, is that sort of where the foundations weren't set, really? And now we're going to have to scramble, really, in the last 12 days of the transfer window. And I don't think we can underestimate the fact that teams will now look at Watford's and realise we need signings, and they'll play the game. They know that we need certain positions, and they will get a good deal out of it, unless we tap into the loan market, which we're gonna touch upon in a minute.
Yeah, it's been a tough week, losing 2 Watford greats, Kai, Antonio Tikvic, two unbelievable players. We're telling the kids, the grandkids, the great grandkids, hopefully, about them.
We'll never forget that assist at Fulham away.
Never forget. What an unbelievable assist that was as well. All that got the goal for Rocco Vata all came from Antonio Tikvic's hard work in there. The summer transfer window was a shambles, wasn't it? In hindsight, I think there's almost 3 players you can look at and go, yeah, okay. Rocco Vata obviously has been excellent. Another goal last night. I think you say Jonathan Bond, for being a backup goalkeeper, has done fine as well for what you want from a backup goalkeeper in this division. And I think Pierre Duomo, there's been glimpses, and it's potentially one that we shouldn't judge yet and one to judge for next season. Pretty much everyone else, though, has been a disaster. Maybe not Angelo Ogbonna, to be fair, because he's been injured. When he has played, he's been okay. But Sissoko hasn't been good enough. Kai is gone. Tikvic is gone. Jebuson's gone. Ben's been injured all season. We haven't seen a minute of him yet.
Yes, we have.
Was that? We have. When did we see Kevin Caben play?
Contributions at Hillsborough for the 6-2 win.
God, he actually played that day. I forgot about that. Yasser Larouci, who, I don't even get me started on Yasser Larouci. But this window is just Ebeselli hasn't cut it either. Pretty much every signing in the summer, other than those 3 that I mentioned. Duomo, who we'll judge in the future. Bond, who's been fine. And Vata, who's been good. Everyone else, not good enough. Terrible window. And Yeah, I mean, I think what's happened here with the Tiklich one, obviously I don't know, and I'll be interested to hear if the club comment or Tom Cleverley comments on when this was made permanent. If Tom Cleverley even knew if it was made permanent. I wonder if that was actually done in the last couple of days so we could loan him out and free up another Udinese loan spot.
Yeah, and one thing that Cleverley keeps saying, like, I think one thing when you listen to his post-match interviews now is his tone of voice is getting more frustrated. I think if you listen to his post in the mix zone with BBC Three Counties, you can tell there was almost, we need to get players in. Now it's, we have to get players in before the next game, which is Saturday against Coventry. Whether that happens or not, we'll have to wait and see. But he is now demanding it. He has now looked at that squad, as we said, with the squad depth and gone, look, we need to get it in. But just the last thing I want to say about Preston, Charlie, what needs to change from that Watford performance going into Saturday before we touch on some transfer targets? What was it about the Watford performance? Because we can say the whole thing, but specifically, what did it lack that needs to change? And can it be changed with the players available at this moment in time?
Yeah, I think the biggest problem with last night for me was kind of the application. Derby, I felt like we were all in it together. We knew we were away and we kind of wanted to bounce back and put in a good shift. And everyone did that. I feel like some players were going, oh, it's Preston, we're at home. We'll do a job of them. It's fine. Even when we went 1-0 down, it was like, oh, we always come back. But there was a lack of urgency. So application for me, hopefully, Cleves has got them going after that game. And we see, oh, look, we shouldn't. I jumped on a Coventry podcast and was speaking a few things about them. And they spent more money on a fella called Binks in the summer that we've spent all season. So I think they've got some really good players, and I'm not expecting us to go there and win. But if we just concede a bit of a response performance-wise, that would be good.
Yeah, I think that was the most frustrating thing from my point of view. Not enough duels won, not enough first balls, second balls, first contacts. Yeah, just the basics. The basics. Look, there's always going to be an element of, we might lack a bit of quality here, but I think the basic fundamental application, as you say, Charlie, was what was lacking yesterday. And yeah, probably enough said on that. Sam, anything else before we move on to the 1 January signing for Watford from every Premier League team?
No, just, yeah, let's get that game.
Let's get the positive vibes going. This is fun.
That was like There we go. Okay, just a few comments before we spend the rest of the show discussing our shouts for a signing. Whether they do happen or not, we'll have to wait and see. Mark, in my opinion, we need a defensive midfielder, striker and left back. If Bond is carrying an injury, then perhaps a keeper is needed. Also, if we fail to make signings, where do you three think we will finish this season, says Theo. Watford FC Cleves keeps asking for signings before games, but it seems like they're continually stringing him along and putting it off. Theo thinks if we fail to make signings, we finish around 13th. Fredster says need more attacking threat, another left back and central midfielder. Sema, where's Ken Sema gone? Do you know anything regarding him? I don't personally, but judging by what Cleverley's saying, he's been, it's been agreed that if the right offer comes in, he can go and the right opportunity comes along. If not, then he'll be in and around the squads. To answer your question as well, Richard. Theo, another one, Sam. Morris and Andrews not in the squad last night. Do we know why?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, that one. I think in terms of the right back situation, because he's quite happy with James Banquer at right back. And he seemed happy playing him and he couldn't really drop him after the weekend. He doesn't seem to see much of a point in having Festi, Ebosele and Ryan Andrews on the bench. So obviously Ebosele dropped out on Saturday. It was Ryan Andrews who go to sit out the other night. It's an interesting one because obviously Andrews hasn't probably played anywhere near as much as he would have wanted to this season. And I just hope it's not almost stunting his development too much. Obviously there are elements to his game that he needs to be working on, but
every time he's played well, I think.
Yeah, no, exactly. There has been some moments where he's struggled a little bit, but I think you're right. On the whole, he has looked really, really good. I think you could argue he's one of the best ball strikers in the team as well. And a night like last night, actually, where Jeremy Ngakia really, really struggled, and I thought he looked knackered as well, to be honest with you. We got into some really, really nice crossing positions, and Ngakia's balls in weren't good enough at all. And I actually thought we could have really done with Ryan Andrews in those areas as well, just because it offers us another outlet.
Yeah, Victor, Tom is doing the best he can with the team he has. There has to be investment, or we will be just a mediocre team without any chance of success, punching above our weight at present. Okay, let's move on to 1 January signing for Watford from every Premier League team. Let us know any shouts in the comment section below. What positions, what players, and we will have a discussion and see how many we get through the door. Charlie, to kick us off, we're going to go through from alphabetical order. Also, the Champions League is about to start, so appreciate anyone who's watching this live and joining us to talk about Watford and have a waffle and see where we get to on this Wednesday night. Charlie, kick us off at Arsenal.
Yeah, we're going to need to do some speed dating to get through all of these in quick time. So let's do our best. Arsenal, I've gone for Tommy Setford. He's a 18-year-old goalkeeper, 6'1". Arsenal signed him from Ajax in the summer. Interestingly, his dad is a professional English golfer, or he was a professional golfer, and his mum's Dutch. But looking at Arsenal and looking at the players available, not too much to pick from. But if he's come from the Ajax Academy, he'll be able to play. So I am going for a goalkeeper. He also played against Preston in the League Cup and kept a clean sheet. So we could have done with that yesterday.
16, right?
18, I think.
The 16-year-old was against Bolton, I think, earlier.
Got you. Yeah. I mean, look, I think a keeper's one spot to look out for. Aston Villa, I think that's quite an easy one, to be honest, with whether we get him or not. But I think Louis Barry, if he's knocking about, I'd well, Louis, if you're watching, mate, and you fancy Pop World, Fratelli, L'artista, and a couple of Nando's in the town centre, mate, this is the place to be. I mean, look, his record at Stockport says it all. We all know the ability he's got, and I think if he's available and he wants to come, then I'd take him with open arms. 21
years. Pint of sumo at the Mad Squirrel as well.
When are we back at the Mad Squirrel, by the way, lads? When's the next one? I have to wait and see.
Norwich at home, yeah.
15% offer on food, also available. There we go. Sam, we move on to Bournemouth.
Not Daniel Jefferson. A really, really tough one, actually, because Bournemouth are going through an injury crisis like you've never seen. And the fact that they are where they are in the Premier League table, getting a result like they did against Newcastle. Some of their fans actually called it their greatest ever Premier League result with the context of what was going on, the early kickoff as well. Credit to them and the job that Andoni Iraola is doing. Obviously, the one that we've spoken about a few times is Mark Travers. However, that one, a lot of other clubs, he seems close to be joining Middlesbrough. And also, it seems they might not even be sending him out on loan now because one of the other backup goalkeepers has got injured today. So Mark Travers might have to stay at Bournemouth. So the other player I've gone with is James Hill, who is a centre-half, 23 years old. He's made 7 appearances in the Premier League this season and has played in the EFL before at Fleetwood. And I think he was also on loan at Blackburn as well last season. I think that loan was cut short, but I think centre-back is an area that we could potentially address to get Matty Pollock, a good partner, in there as well. I doubt Bournemouth would trust us with any of their players for the next couple of transfer windows, but I've gone with James Hill.
James Hill, nice. Yeah. We've had a few shouts to predict the next. Someone's gone Fred's to Jayden Danns when we get to Liverpool. Richard says, don't say Emmanuel Dennis when you get to Forest. And Dane Scarlett's been recalled by Tottenham. We'll see if we mention those later on in the video. Okay, Charlie, Brentford. Is there anyone that sticks out?
Yeah, interesting one for Brentford. I first was looking at experienced defender Ben Mee, but I thought we've already got Uncle Bonner, so we might not need to go for another one of those. I've gone for a 90-year-old defensive midfielder, a Turkish under-21 international. Don't worry, he's not another two fan. Brentford actually signed him this time last year for £4 million. And if Brentford is signing you, same as kind of Brighton, I trust that you're going to be good quality. Played 17 games for Sistersport in the Turkish top flight last season when he was only 18. He's also played in 5 games in the Premier League this season. Tough tackler. He can progress the ball pretty well, tidy passer. And I've actually read a report just today that Brentford would be open to send him on loan. So the person I'm going for is Yunus Emre Kunuk, one of Turkish's bright stars that's coming through that Brentford have taken a punt for. So we need someone to get in that centre midfield to run around and start making some tackles.
I wasn't laughing at you, Charlie. I was laughing at Mike Duffy's comments. He said, thought Charlie said 90-year-old then and thought that summed us up to a T. That's to you, Mike. What a man.
Really
okay. This one would actually make a lot of sense, which means we will not be signing him. Carl Rushworth at Brighton, goalkeeper, and he's just been recalled by Hull. By Brighton from Hull. And he's the one that I think, shout out to Lou Ons, because he said if there was ever a time to bring in a keeper with a significant upgrade on what we have, it's now. And then I looked at the comments from some Brighton fans, and it said he's staying here. He's going to be a number 2 for a while Steele's out injured. So I've suggested someone that won't be joining. But in terms of, if you looked at the profile of the player, a keeper that is 23 years of age, championship experience, someone that if we got on a long-term contract, you could build him, develop him into a top-class keeper. But that one won't be happening. So I've just wasted our spot on Brighton. But to be honest, there was no one else that I could actually find that would fit the bill, unless anyone else on top of the road thought of anyone. And you can't pick João Pedro. That's the only thing.
In the comments and let us know. But yeah, Carl Rushworth would be amazing. His ball playing is exceptional. Fun fact for anyone that doesn't know that Rio Ferdinand's son, Lorenzo, is actually a goalkeeper at Brighton. So just give him a promotion and give us Carl.
Well said. Sam, Chelsea.
Another player who I think it's going to be difficult to get this deal done because Chelsea are looking to actually sell him at this stage. Player we were linked with last season, or I think at one point under Slaven Bilic as well, is, I'm not going to try and pronounce his first name, but Kassadai, the central midfielder. He was at Leicester. Leicester fans thought that he struggled at times just with the pace of the league. I think that was also largely down to the way that they played under Enzo Maresca as well. But I think he would be someone who can almost play in that attacking midfield role, almost try and lift that strain off Georgie Shakfatadze as well. I think he would be a good addition. However, it looks like Chelsea are going to be selling him to a club in Serie A. I think Torino might be the ones he's going to for about 25 million.
Someone said I look like him.
Kassadai.
Yeah, I've been that someone. I think someone said it's you off Wish, and I was like, I don't know whether that's a good thing or not.
I think my missus said you look like a young Hugh Grant.
Jesus Christ! I'll send the tenner in the post. Goodness gracious me! Don't know how to move on to Everton now, but I'm going to do it with João Virginia, who is the number 2. From Hugh Grant to João Virginia, who's the number 2. To be honest, again, Shamiti was the one we got linked with. Oh, not linked with. Someone that we mentioned as a striker who hadn't been playing a lot under Sean Dyche. He's injured at the minute, so Hits ruled him out. Look, I'm scraping the barrel here in terms of names, but João Virginia was someone who I looked at and I thought he's an upgrade on the keepers we have. He's not playing a lot of football. Can we chuck a loan out there and see if we can get him in? That's my shout. But again, I'm not gonna let you waste your time. Look, Ashley Young.
God. Do you remember when he was at Inter Milan and said he'd walk?
Ashley Young's son.
God. I think on João Virginia, though, I think we've done this video now, 3 or 4 times, and I'm normally the one with Everton, and I think I've said João Virginia's name each time, and it doesn't seem that Everton are budging from having him as their number 2.
You can't get enough of Virginia.
Exactly. Imagine if Ashley Young's son did the same celebration that he did when he scored against us. That'd be one for the ages. We move on from Everton to Fulham. Samuel.
I've gone with another goalkeeper. I've gone with Bender in goal, who played against us the other week. Another player who has some championship experience as well. I think he's actually relatively good. I think he was at Swansea a few years ago as well. I quite like him from the small bits I've seen. I remembered him at Swansea as well. He's sitting on the bench at Fulham. I highly doubt he's going to dislodge Bern Leno. But again, we're probably going to be relying on Fulham getting in another goalkeeper. So difficult one to do, but I'd go with him.
Do you think we're going to sign a keeper? Because we've now been linked to 4 or 5.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the fella who Udinese is supposedly signing. I think he'll come on loan to us. And I think that's why as well we've seen Tikvich leave today. I think that'll be the goalkeeper, to be honest.
Is it interesting that affects
Inter Milan the other season when they won the league, I think?
Well, this is the thing. If Tikvich was permanent, then does it actually free up a spot anyway? Because Udinese want to sign Como keeper Emil Aldero and could send him on loan to Watford. And alternatively, Udinese could decide to keep Aldero and loan Watford their new goalkeeper, Igil Selvic. So either way, I think Watford are getting a keeper to come in number 1, number 2. Well, it'd be number 1 while Batman's out. I think Jonathan Bond will probably step down to number 2 again. But yeah, look, that's one to keep time. But I'd be pretty confident that we get a keeper in.
Yeah, I think on the keeper front, I think it's quite clear as well that the club want to send Miles Roberts back out on loan, because obviously we could all say I don't think Bondi was at 100% last night, just carrying that groin injury or hamstring injury, I think it was. Obviously, you'd bring Miles Roberts in, but I think if he plays another game, if he plays a game for Watford, we can't loan him out again. So I think him not playing last night probably suggests that we're going to look to get send him out on loan.
Sam, you don't fancy Harrison Reed?
Cool, so that's another one, the banker from when we tend to do these videos. I would really, really like Harrison Reed, a really good central midfielder, and I think he'd be perfect fit for us. I completely forgot about him, to be honest with you, actually.
I think you would absolutely love Harrison Reed. Charlie, Ipswich.
Ipswich. I've got Crystal Palace above. Have you missed them out?
I might have missed them above.
All right, let's do Palace first.
We'll do a double header.
All right, double header. Palace, what Tom Cleverley has been crying out for is a bit of experience. So this player at Crystal Palace, 32 years old, he's versatile. He can play as left back, he can play centre midfielder. Nearly 280 Premier League games. Even last season, he played 29 games in the Premier League. Unfortunately, he is quite heavily linked with Coventry, but they are getting... who's the guy who went on loan at Rangers and he played?
Matondo.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's going to affect the deal, but if it doesn't, let's hijack this. And like I said, Cleverley wants him. He would have crossed paths with Cleverley while they were at Leicester. And he's also got something in common of winning the Premier League, same as Tom Cleverley. Bring me Jeffrey Sloop.
Ooh, I thought he was off to the MLS.
Pardon?
I thought he was off to the MLS.
I don't think so. I think he's just been kind of on the bench a few minutes here and there, but I think Will Hughes has really stapled his bum to that bench this season, and I think he's exactly the kind of profile we need. We need that experience, that calm head, and I think when I was doing this list, he ticked a lot of boxes. It's just that Coventry link, so Coventry could do us dirty. But Clevs knows him. Get on the phone. Could he charm him? I don't know, but that's my shout for Crystal Palace.
That's a really good shout.
When you said it, experienced fullback at Crystal Palace, I was worried you'd say Joel Ward, who broke my heart at the age of 10 years old when he blocked Fernando Forestieri shot off the line in the playoff final. Never forgive him for that.
Do you reckon this is the most somber pod we've ever done? It's just like relentless. Do you know what? Just on Schlupp, I was reading. You got linked with the move to the MLS. Commentary, as you say, Charlie, Millwall have been linked, QPR have been linked, Stoke have been linked. So in terms of, look, that says all you need to know about. He would upgrade most teams in this division, Jeffrey Schlupp. I've been given Leicester, and let me know in the comment section. I would happily take back Hamza Chowdhury.
Yes, Jacob. Yes, that's what I wanted you to say.
I would take Hamza Chowdhury, to Sam's dismay. He would walk
absolutely seething.
He would walk into our midfield, and United have been linked with a move for him at the end of the season. I think Hamza Chowdhury would admit he's a top half Championship footballer. Sheffield United have been linked. We saw what he's about last season, and granted, it was not last season, the season before. A little bit hit and miss, box to box, wins first balls, wins second balls, and to be honest, we are lacking that at the minute. Whether you like him or loathe him, what he's good at, we are missing. And if he's available, he comes straight into the midfield for me. So I don't know whether his time at Watford's been tarnished a little bit, whether he has a good relationship with the football club, but if he's available and he fancies it, I would take Hamza Chowdhury back to Watford. Sam, what do you reckon?
Does tick two boxes. Can play in centre mid and can also go in goal, as we saw against Huddersfield. Yeah, I wasn't Hamza's biggest fan, as you might remember back on the channel. Thought it was a bit frustrating to watch, to be honest with you. And I think particularly towards the end of his loan, when he probably knew he was going back, I thought his performances dropped off massively. But look, I'm always willing to give players second chances. Look at how I've treated Imran Luz since he's come back from his loan. I now love him. So yeah, listen, that's who I am, Jacob. That's what this channel's done to me. I'm now receptive of people. I welcome people with open arms. And Hamza, listen, mate. Like we said, if you want to come to the Mad Squirrel for a sumo and talk it out, you're more than welcome.
Imagine. Here we go. Richard, apparently I've missed Ipswich. Jacob Keane. You didn't do the double header, Charlie.
Okay, Ipswich, another experienced head that Tom Cleverley wants. 31-year-old left back with 170 championship games under his belt. He has played 1 minute of Premier League football this season behind Leif Davis. He reminds me of a young Robbo, a proper defender at left back, hard tackling. He was part of West Brom's playoff team. Connor Townsend. Ipswich bought him in the summer. I think his contract was down, but just that championship experience, you know what you're going to get. But what I quite like about his profile is he's a defender first and foremost. And to have that confidence of playing with a back four, I think he could slot in really well.
Lovely shout. Lovely shout. I'm keen to watch actually, am I keen to watch the Champions League? I don't know. I might stick on a bit of Sky Sports Plus and maybe watch a bit of Championship just to bring you back down to earth. Sam, on Liverpool.
Yeah, straightforward one. I think it's the name that a few people have mentioned. I know Charlie, I know you love him. Huh?
The banker.
The banker, the no-brainer, the one that's never failed. Everyone says his name. Charlie loves him. Jayden Dans, winger, young player. Liverpool do seem, according to all the reports, Liverpool are interested in sending him out on loan. Looks like a really, really exciting prospect. And I think he's the sort of player when you're a really exciting winger who can play on both sides. And he's played down the middle as well. Striker as well, but I think he has played out wide as well. But I mean, at England level, and also when he's come in for the first team, he can go wide as well. So he's versatile across that front three. But I think at that age, you only improve and show what you're about when you're playing minutes. And I think we could offer him that. Well, we would offer him that if he came to us.
I'd love that one. And a couple of other shouts. We had Theo Al-Hamadi at Ipswich. He's been off it. He looks a man bereft of confidence at the moment, but Ipswich are willing to let him leave in this window. I'm assuming that'll go to deadline. I reckon there'll be a team in the Championship who will get his services.
I read they want to sell him apparently instead of a loan.
Really? Well,
yeah, Ipswich fans really don't. He's been the scapegoat a few times this season. Apparently he just looks a bit unfit and just hasn't been up to it in the Premier League.
Jonesy, Watford FC, Luongo as well for experience at Ipswich, but love the Townsend shout, Charlie.
Cheers, Jonesy.
There we go. Okay, we move on. Charlie, hit us with Man City.
City. Okay, I got quite excited about this one.
Go on.
Firstly, in the comments, and you guys think about it before I go through my list. Have we ever had a City loanee? Have we ever bought anyone for City? I can't think of anyone, but this is a 20-year-old striker. City picked him up for a free in the summer. He's got 62 goals in 114 games, mostly of that at youth level. He has played for City recently in the league, the FA Cup, Carabao Cup. He's a physical, really mobile striker, good goal scorer's instinct. I watched a video with on Sam Allardyce's No Tippy Tappy Football, and the Salford manager, Carl Robertson, was on saying how impressed he was when Salford played them in the FA Cup. Are his minutes going to get limited now? City are getting Omar Mamouche. And he was previously linked with Watford. Fred Starr has got absolute ball knowledge, but Davin Mubama, I've been really, really impressed with him in the few times that he has played with City. Led the line really well, physical player. He looks like he's got a bit of confidence. He scored in the FA Cup. So if we can get him a run of games, when there's kind of interest there previously, when he was linked at West Ham with his contract running down, he's someone that I'd be really excited about if we manage to land. Any City players that we've signed or had on loan?
If you're saying sign in general, Deli Bashir is the current one. But I'm just gonna chuck a man into the mix, and I will never forget the semi-final against Palace. That kung fu kick into the side netting, Costa Pantilimon.
The tallest man in the world.
I've also technically, you could say Nathan Ake, but we didn't sign him directly from City, so you can't say Nathan Ake. You also can't say Albert Riera is another shout. He briefly.
Oh, what a boy! What a boy! Last night when the game was going badly, yeah, we are, like I've said before, but me and Sean Walker, who I sit with at games, we're just talking about that season, and just the streets will never forget. Merkel, Riera, Reneji, Irene, take me back. And yes, I'm surprised, Charlie, you didn't say Jacob Wright, particularly after Ryan Andrews bigged him up on our video with him recently.
Yeah, great video that. Go to watch it if you haven't seen it already. Yeah, Ryan did big up Jacob Wright, and he was on the list as well as Nico O'Reilly, who's played quite a lot recently. But I think we need a bit more experience in that midfield, but a bit of exuberant youth up front, maybe.
Okay, we're going to go quick fire with these. I've gone for United. I've gone Toby Collier because we always say Harry Mass as a left back, and maybe is a Championship loan a bit too soon for him. I don't know, but the brief bits I've watched of Toby Collier, he came on against Arsenal in the FA Cup, looked really good. Central midfielder, really exciting talent at United. Whether he'll have a future at United under Amarim, we'll have to wait and see. 21 years of age. Defensive midfielder, can play central midfield as well. I think that'd be a great loan for most Championship clubs as well.
He's got legs, proper legs, which we need. So I think that's a good shout.
Sam, Newcastle?
Emil Kraft, bit of an older player, but experienced. Can play at centre-back, can play at right-back. A different one to look at. A difficult one again, because Newcastle's squad is actually pretty thin. But yeah, Emil Kraft, and he's also out of contract in the summer. So potentially one, if we did get that done, one we could potentially look at signing permanently in the summer on a free.
Charlie Forrest.
Once, twice.
No.
I'm not going for the trilogy. I'm not going for the trilogy. Yeah, I think a bit of an easy one for this one. Lewis O'Brien. We picked him up on the channel before. He was one of the names I was looking at when we did the video. Another great video that we've done. Check that out. 5 players Watford should sign in January. Still haven't signed any of them. But Lewis O'Brien, 26-year-old. He's been on loan in America, box-to-box midfielder. Got that experience at Clevs once. He was outstanding when Huddersfield got to the playoff final. I think he won Player of the Year with those guys the season before. He's got loads of interest. I saw even Burnley were interested, but they've signed John Joe Shelby. So surely they're not going to. Burnley squad, how many experienced players have they got, which Clevs would absolutely love? Just one of them. When you look at like Josh Cullen, John Joe Shelby, who the other dogs they've got in midfield? Yeah, give us one.
They've got Ashley Barnes is back.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Inevitably he's going to score. Toffolo is also a shout, says Rio. For my shout for Southampton, I've gone with Charlie Taylor, who is not playing for Southampton at the minute. He's a left back, 31 years of age, obviously known for his time at Burnley. A bit of a Burnley stalwart, 194 times he played.
Once a Leeds wonder kid.
And look, I think we're in need of a left back. And when he ticks the boxes of Tom Cleverley's Championship percentage footballers, Charlie Taylor ticks most of the boxes. And even if it's a loan to the end of the season, I think that would be a decent signing for us. And I'd be surprised if another Championship club doesn't come in for him. Sam, bring us home with Tottenham. Then we've got Charlie West Ham, and then Sam back with Wolves. So do you know what, Sam? Give us your Tottenham and Wolves, and I'll let Charlie finish off for West Ham.
Tottenham, got a goalkeeper. I've gone Brandon Austin. Came in the other week. Before they signed Kinski, I think his name is, who's done really well since he's come in, and Vicario as well will be back soon after their little injury crisis as well. Tottenham will be reluctant, I think, to let players go with the current scenario that they've got going on, players dropping like flies. It's Brandon Austin I'd bring in goal, and from Wolves, Carlos Forbes, who is another young winger, potentially one to look out for. Has played for the Portugal under-21s and could add a bit of excitement to our forward line.
City Academy player Carlos Forbes, very exciting.
Charlie, West Ham, just to finish up.
Gone for a left back, 19-year-old. He's just broken into the first team recently. Oliver Scarles. Graham Potter seems to really like him. I was also looking at a midfielder, Andy Irving. Scottish lad. He's got a lot of experience considering he hasn't played too much. I think he's about 24, 25. Had a couple of loan spells. So any of those guys, I know West Ham they're signing a midfielder, so he might be more likely. But I just wanted, where Connor Townsend might be a bit more of an experienced left back, Oliver Scarles might be a bit of a raw kind of player who can also play wing back. Who was your best shout before we finish? Who suggestion did you guys like? You can't say your own. Well, you can if you want.
Well, I like the sound of the Man City striker. I don't know anything about him, to be honest with you, but I like the sound of it. Yeah. Sold it to me, Charlie.
To be honest, Charlie, I enjoyed most of your shouts. Sam, I also enjoyed yours as well. I'm going to say, to be honest, I've lost track on some of these. Do you know what? Just for the Barclays, Actually, you know what, Charlie? Your Nottingham Forest shout was lovely. I think that's
Right.
quite realistic because they've got too many players anyway.
I'm saying return of Hamza Chowdhury. Sorry, Sam.
Look, would you take Hamza Chowdhury back at Watford? That is the question for the comment section. A huge shout out to Sam and Charlie today. I hope you did enjoy the video despite a bit of a somber tone in the first 60 minutes of it. And then there was a little bit of a Rocco Vata sort of lift towards the end. Lads, just before we wrap up, predictions for commentary. I'm not there Saturday. Sam, Charlie are. So if you see them in the away-ends, come and say hello. Lads, predictions for a trip to Frank Lampard's Coventry City.
I think because Clevs' job is on the line, I think they'll pull it out the bag again, and I'm going to go with 2-1 Watford.
Ooh, bold. I'm going 3-1 Coventry.
I know what Charlie's going with.
Yeah, the state of the squad, I can only see one result, and that'll be 3-3. But if Watford win, I'm that confident we won't win. But if Watford win, I will wear this on Sunday's stream. One of the worst Christmas presents I received. But so if this is not motivation for the squad, then I don't know what is.
Get that going.
We all want to see it. Thanks so much to everyone who watched live today. Just a bit of housekeeping, as I always say. That's probably the bingo card ticked off for this week. Hearts Mine Initiative, link in the description below. India's Sizzle Night, 27th of January. The tickets in the description below, £25 a head for a great night of food, fun, community connection and supporting mental health. And then just one on the Mental Health World Cup. Still 1 or 2 team spaces left. So if you're interested, get involved there. We've had a few emails. Sorry if we haven't got back to everybody. We were inundated with messages about this one. So keep refreshing, keep checking the website. We'll try and get back to as many as quickly as possible. Post-match pint potentially at Norwich. So keep that one for the diary. And we will see you very, very soon. On Sunday, I think, lads, right, to review commentary. Hopefully we'll be a bit more uplifted and a bit more enthusiastic about this Watford season, even despite us being 1 point off the playoffs, which is absolutely mental. Thanks so much, guys. Take care of yourself. Please leave a like on the video. Comment down below your thoughts. Would you bring Hamza Chowdhury back to Watford Football Club? I don't think Sam would. Take care of yourselves and up the audience. See you once.